Underpainting, what is it and who is it right for? That's what we're doing in today's video. I am starting off with just eye cream on. I have the Autocorrect by Sunday Riley. I'm enjoying this a lot. And on my lips, Tower 28 just sent me their holiday gift set of the little softies and this new one, Iced Dulce de Leche. That's what's on my lips. It smells amazing. So we're going to start, because I have no moisturizer on whatsoever, we're going to start with skin prep. This is one of the things that I'm learning is so important with underpainting. And Ravi Beauty just launched this new Signature Skin Dream Barrier Cream. Let me say, it's only been about 4 days I've been using this, but I am a fan. This is such a wonderful, hydrating, not greasy, not oily, just a really, really nice formula. So I have been using this predominantly in the morning because I have to ease into new skincare. My skin is very sensitive, but last night I used it at night as well because I was feeling super lazy and just used this and my skin looked great this morning. So the packaging on this is a 10 out of 10. You just twist up, it goes up, you have a pump. So they did send this to me, but as always, I will give you my full honest review and thoughts down the road. I think skincare, you need to take some time with it. But so far, I am loving how it looks on the skin and I'm loving it under makeup. So the next step for me is sunscreen. And I've been using this off and on. I just had it in my collection for a while, but I've only recently been using it under makeup. And this is the Naked Sundays SPF 50+, and this is the Collagen Glow 100% Mineral Sunscreen. They do make a couple of face ones that are not mineral, but this is mineral. That is what works best with my skin. And the tone on this is not, I mean, there's a tiny little bit of a tint, but just basically to keep you from getting a white cast. Now, the texture on this is quite thick, but it is a really great primer under this type of makeup look. Next, we are moving to the eyes, and I am going to do the full coverage lid prep that I only do on occasion. This is where I start off with a concealer, but because I have super oily eyelids, I then also need to do an eyelid primer and a little powder. So as I'm doing this, I will explain a little bit of what underpainting is, what my misconceptions about it have been, and who I think it's best for. So underpainting is where you are creating a structure of your face, contour, highlight, underneath your foundation. Now, what a lot of people have said about it and what I have seen demoed and I tried myself and didn't like was they were saying that it would prevent you from doing multiple layers. That was why it was supposed to be good for mature skin. So you would apply, there are a couple of makeup companies like Saint Makeup, they were making this a huge part of their marketing plan. They would say you would apply a kind of contour color or bronzer color here, your highlighter color, and then maybe fill in a little few areas with another color, but you were just supposed to tap it in place. And so you would just have essentially one layer of makeup on your face. And that just never worked for me. It didn't work for me with the Saint Makeup. It didn't work for me. I tried it with concealer. I was then trying also another method, which will be similar to what I'm doing today, where you actually apply your kind of heavy contour underneath. I never tried it with highlighter, contour, and then I was trying to find a thin enough, light enough foundation to go over it, and I couldn't get the blend right. So basically, what I have come to realize for me personally, and this is how I like underpainting. Underpainting is to create a seamless structure under your foundation. And in order to do that, this is not a minimal number of products, but it will look really seamless, like your contour, your bronzer, your blush are all your skin. So the goal here is to make your skin look flawless and like it is just kind of one even canvas with color in the right places, but it is done with several steps. This is not a super easy, quick out the door in 5 minutes look. This is more something when you really want your skin to look flawless, but yet not makeup-y. Now, let's finish up the prep of the eyes. So the next step after that concealer has had a little time to sink in, I used the Hourglass Vanish Concealer. This is just a mini. And I like that concealer for my lids, but it's a little drying under the eyes. So now for eyeshadow primer, I'm just using the Alter Ego eyeshadow base. And this is one that plays well. It doesn't disturb the concealer underneath too much, but it adds just that extra little bit of grip that I personally need. So if you don't have super oily eyelids, you can go next to a little bit of powder. And the reason why I am choosing to do this more flawless base is because, again, we want the skin and the eyes, everything to look just seamless. Like you can't tell where the bronzer starts and stops. You can't tell where the highlight and the concealer start and stop. So we're just gonna have some fun together. I am still learning this process and figuring out maybe some quicker ways around things, but I wanted to share this video with you because recently I know Mary Phillips just came out with her kind of underpainting palette, and a lot of people are showcasing that. And that one's quite expensive. There's only a few colors. And the palette that I'm going to use today, I think is a much better alternative. So if you're thinking you want to give it a try, I've got some ideas. Okay, so I know I have a little extra concealer under here. We'll clean that up in a moment. The last step for lid prep is a little bit of setting powder. Again, just a free sample of the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. This is the original formula. I don't personally like this to set my face or under eyes, but I do like it on the lids of my eyes. I'm going to use this Buzzy Beauty brush. This is the 906, and I am just going to tap a good amount of this all over the lid. And I am also going to press a little bit of this in my brows. We're going to start with the eyes so that we can clean up underneath and we can do the face, the concealer, everything all at once. So today I pulled out the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance. This is the mini palette. And this is one of those palettes that I think of when I think of fall. And I'm going to start with a little bit of, I think this is Tempera and Golden Ochre. The full-on Modern Renaissance palettes has been like one of my favorites throughout the year. I just loved it. Go back with a little bit of that. And we are going to, at least at this point, I think I'm going to keep the eyes relatively simple and maybe pretty matte because I want to do kind of more of a bold lip. In the crease of the eye, I'm gonna do mostly this one, which I think is Raw Sienna, and I'm using the Rougher 01 Max. Just gonna put this all through the crease. Now I have done this look kind of with just bronzer through the crease, and that would work too. I just felt like pulling out this palette that I have not used in a while, and it's still a pretty reasonably priced palette. I love these little guys. They're fun to use. I also wanted the option to deepen up or blend out the liner if I wanted to, because if you saw my fall trends makeup video, I'll link that down below. If you saw that recently, you'll know that smudgy, smoky liner is on trend for the season, and actually eyeshadows made a comeback. I think I'm going to try to refrain myself from doing shimmer on the lids today because I want something different than I did in that video, but I could definitely do that. And then I'm just going to clean off that brush really well, and I'm going to go in with, let's start off with just Tempera and put a little bit of this here. Now let's add some eyeliner. I just ordered 2 of the Victoria Beckham eyeliners. Oh my goodness, the formula of these are amazing. This is the color Cinnamon. I'm gonna start with this under the lower lashes. They are pricey. You do, however, get quite a lot of product and you get a free sharpener with it. And so I think the formula, these are so, I mean, I am barely even touching my skin and it just applies. And you have ample time to do a little smudgy blending if you want to. It does have a smudger on the other end, which I may break into in just a moment. But I'm just applying this kind of just to the outer half, and I'm going to do just a little bit of a smoky wing here. I'm gonna take this is the Morphe M432, but it's like the Sigma E15. Just pull that wing out just a little bit. And this does have a slight little bit of a sheen, more of a satin. It's not glittery, but it does have a little bit of a glow. So as the light hits it, it's much softer. Now something that is a little odd, I'm gonna go ahead and curl my lashes now. I'm not quite ready for mascara. I'm going to do this so that sometimes it takes off some of your eyeliner. And so at this stage, I want to make sure that my liner and shadow are all done. So I'm just going to curl my lashes. And do you see there's just kind of a little bit of a gap there left from the curler. So now I'm going to take a little bit of shadow on that brush. And I'm going to, let's go first into the dark brown. Can't remember if this is Burnt Umber. That might be the shade. Like I said, the original Modern Renaissance palette was my ride or die for quite a long time. And now you all probably know I have another favorite palette, which I was going to use today, but I thought I would give you all a little break. Okay, because on my lip, I'm gonna bring in just a little bit of something that has a little plummy tones to it. I'm gonna dip into this red ochre shade and just a tiny little bit in there. And I'm going to really lightly, and in fact, I'm gonna wipe off my brush and just go in with the red ochre shade. I just want a tiny little bit of this. And then I'll blend it out with the rougher #1 Max brush. And do you see how it just kind of gave it a little more of a kind of softer, more blended look on the outer corner versus just seeing the liner. Okay, let's clean up under the eyes. I'm going in with my usual Now Solutions almond oil. I just transfer it into this really fancy bottle. Now what I'm going to do, you're going to notice that I'm going to leave maybe a little extra hydration under the eyes than I would normally leave. And underpainting, one of the issues that I think I ran into before is I didn't realize that I needed to have my skin a little extra moisturized. And once I tried this with extra moisturizer under the eyes and on the face, it has made a huge difference. And under the eyes here, I have actually been doing this makeup, this underpainting with no concealer. I'm using a brightening shade under there, but I'm not using a separate concealer. I'll show you. It's a little crazy for me. Okay, so you can still see a little glow. That's what we want. Now, for the rest of the skin prep, that sunscreen has soaked in. I'm going to now add a spray of moisture. This is the D'Alba First Spray Serum. And at first when I got this, I didn't understand the hype, but used the correct way, like this, or after you've done your makeup, if you're a dry skin girl, do this. Wow, it just really softens the skin so much. So I use it before, and now I'm gonna go in with these 2 palettes from Makeup Forever. I've had these for quite a while and I had hardly even used them. I just could not make them work. But it was because I was trying to use these as my foundation, but using them for underpainting has worked wonders. This one's the all-in-one face palette, and I think this is the lighter one. And then I purchased the Face Essentials palette, and this has 6 blushes, and then it has these contour shades over here. So for my highlight, we're gonna start there. You need separate brushes for some of these steps. Again, we're just having fun here. I just wanna educate you in case you wanna try this. This is the F26 from Sigma. And I've determined that really these 2 shades kind of are my brightening shades. So you wanna choose a shade that is 1 to 2 shades lighter than what your current skin tone is. And I'm trying to match my neck here. So this is quite brightening compared to where we're going. So keep that in mind. And I am applying this in all of the areas that I would want to highlight. So mostly the center of the face. And again, I'm not blending this out. I'm just applying, and we have a few steps. So hang with me here. This is kind of fun. And it's going to look kind of crazy. This is probably going to be one of the thumbnail pictures that I choose, is something with my underpainting all done. Okay, so not a thick layer, but enough that you can see it on the skin. Next, I am switching to another brush, and the shape of the brush, I think these are great. This one's from Sigma. I also will be using this one from BK Beauty. The one from Sigma is, they always do their numbers backwards. This is the F08. And now I'm gonna go in with my contour bronzer shade. Now this is going to come off pretty orangey. Just hang with me here. I'm gonna start with this one. And I am putting this a little higher on the cheek, more as a bronzer. And again, just tapping it on. I'm gonna go here around the forehead. These are areas that I typically contour, bronze. And then let's see, we go under the chin, or I go under the chin, just to help make my jaw up here just a little shorter and slimmer here. I will also go back behind the jaw. And on the nose, I've learned I do need to use a different brush. So this is the N16 from BK Beauty. And Gracie is just being a little, you've probably heard a lot of background noise. She's just wanting you all to know she's here. I'm gonna wipe off that brush, and I'm gonna go in with a little bit of this deeper, kind of cooler shade right at the base of that bronze shade. And this is going to just give us more of a shadow look. And I'll do this kind of at the perimeter. I told you, I'm gonna get a little crazy here. The first time I did this, I got to this part and I'm like, oh no, what am I doing? But then once I did the next step, I was amazed. And I'll add a little bit of that with the nose as well. Now, these creams are creamy, but they were a little stiff when I used them previously without doing this spray first. So that was a huge game changer, and it really made a difference. Okay, at this point, this is when previously I was confused. I would just apply the thinnest foundation I had, but as I was blending, everything was getting meshed together, and I thought, what is the point? So the person on Instagram that I have watched help me perfect this, I will link her down below. She's from Australia. She is a kick, but a very talented makeup artist. And she mentioned in one of her reels that nobody's face skin is one solid color. So she said, if you really want the most natural look, you actually need to go in with 2 foundation shades. And she did this in combination with the underpainting. She used the lighter shade in the areas where we have applied highlighter and the darker shade in the areas where we have contour. Now, because I do sunless tanning most of the year, I already had and have 2 shades of most of my favorite foundations because I find that I usually need to mix them. But this is the first time that I ever applied them separately in the different areas around my face, and it does make a big difference. Okay, so I am starting off with this BK Beauty 106 brush. I think a brush like this is very helpful. It's small enough that you can stay kind of in the areas where you want it to go, especially since we're doing 2 different colors, but it's also fluffy enough that you can actually blend. So we're gonna start off with the lighter shade. I'm using, by the way, the Maybelline 30 Hour Lumi Matte Foundation in shades 118 and 220. So 118, I am actually going to just kind of dot over the areas where we have that highlighter. And then I'm going to just press it in. And so I'm just tapping, trying to keep the majority of that in the highlighted area. And again, we're not blending just yet. We are just tapping it on. And I'm going to place this color kind of in the areas where I don't have anything applied just yet. And this is when I was still like freaking out. I'm like, this is not looking great. Then I'm gonna go into the darker shade and I'm going to just tap that around kind of the areas where I have that contour. I'm going to press it in kind of on the cheeks. And then after I feel like I've distributed it mostly around the face, pressed it in, then I will slowly start to blend the seams of those colors. And I'm still more pressing rather than swirls, but you can do swirls in a few areas if you feel like you need to. But I am doing more pressing motions. And at this point, it's okay if those colors kind of start to blend together, because that's kind of what you want. You want it to look seamless. And this is where the kind of aha moment came for me, was that this is actually quite a full coverage routine, but it can still look like your skin. So if you have a special event, this is how I would say you would love having your makeup done. And this is what I think I'm going to do for my makeup for the piano concert I have coming up, because it's adding all that shaping, but you see there is no line, but you can see my face just looks like it has this natural kind of bronze in all the right areas. It's highlighted in all the other areas. Now, under the eyes, I told you that I was not going to apply a separate concealer, but what I am going to do is go back to this palette and I'm going to go up to this peach shade and I'm going to press just a little bit of this right here in the inner corner where I still have a little darkness peeking through. And these are so creamy. You really need very little product. So I'm just pressing that in. Okay, I'm gonna go in with the lighter foundation shade and just apply a little bit under the eyes. And then I'm using the BK Beauty A503 to just lightly blend that out of the creases. At this point, I'm going to add a little bit of blush. So I'm going to go into the other Makeup Forever palette, and I've just been changing it up every day because I think these blush shades are so beautiful. But keeping in mind that I'm doing a pretty dramatic lip, I'm going to stick, let's try staying right here for now. And I'm using the BK Beauty 109 brush. And these creams are very buildable. So, I mean, you can really go in with a light hand. And I mean, actually, you don't even have to be too careful. At least with most of the shades. I haven't actually used this one yet. So maybe that one you'd have to be a little more cautious. But again, just pressing that in. And I'm sticking pretty high up on the cheeks. And then I'm going to, with that angle of that brush, just take that slightly into the under eye area so that there isn't a line where our kind of highlighted area starts and stops. And then I'm just going to go back with a little bit of this shade. You could go back with the same one that we did underpainting with. But I just want a little more color here, the tops of the cheeks. I am going to powder, but I'm not using a coverage powder to powder. I'm going to be using a completely translucent powder. If you're using a powder that has some coverage, you might actually want to go in with a little brighter cheek so that you can make sure it shows through after you've powdered. I'm just going to touch up a little bit of my nose contour. So I want a little more definition. All right, I just cleaned off my brush really well, and now I'm just going to tap over the areas where I have some lines, texture, and just make sure we don't have any excess product. And now we're going to powder. Now, for my powder, I have chosen to use the Makeup Forever. This is the Ultra HD Micro Finishing Loose Powder. This is a finishing powder, and so technically, if you go over the top of this with any powder products, it could get patchy because this provides almost like a layer of silica and smoothness on the skin. It's amazing. But before I do this, I almost forgot. One important step is I'm going to lock this in with the Hard Candy Look on Lock setting spray. I'm doing this now before powder, and that allows me to really keep the most blurred finish on my skin once I've powdered. So I'm going to give this a good shake and a spritz. So this powder is a super, super lightweight, airy, it looks white, but it's translucent powder. And I'm going to tap some out in my hand and using a clean powder puff. I'll try to remember to link these below. I have a couple of different brands that I've purchased from Amazon, and I always forget to link these powder puffs below. But do you see how that powder just blurs? It does not add any coverage. It is really amazing. And this is great under the eyes because it's so lightweight. It is not going to add a cakey layer under your eyes. You still want to go in with a light hand under there, but make sure, let's get out any creases. I always have this one line under my eye that likes to grab any concealer or anything. And now I'm just going to go lightly. One layer. We'll go back and kind of fluff a little bit more in there. And there we go. And do you see how just everything looks seamless? We don't have a harsh contour line, but we have contoured cheeks. We've got color, but it all just looks like it's part of my skin. Okay, I'm gonna add just a little bit of brightness on the inner corner with that brow bone highlight shade we used earlier. I'll blend a little bit of this in with the Eve 30 from Sigma. I just filled in my brows, and I skipped that portion because many of you have seen me do my brows over and over. If you're new here, I'll link a couple of videos about brows, but today I used the CoverGirl Nano Pencil in Blonde and the Kosas Air Fluff Brow Gel in Taupe. I'm really enjoying this combination. Now for mascara, I'll fast forward through this, but I'm using the YSL Mascara Primer. This is one of the newer ones I've been testing out, and I've been enjoying it. And then I'm going to use the Tilt Mascara. This is a great mascara. I think it's called Beyond Mascara, and this brand is very user-friendly if you have hand issues. So let's go ahead and apply those, and then we'll go to lips. Oh, I'm always amazed at what just one coat over the primer of this mascara does. I think the lashes just look so dramatic. They look like they're fake. I'm gonna wipe off that lip softy, and oh my goodness, my lips feel soft. I've never tried those before, but I am a fan. My lips feel so hydrated. Okay, around the edge of the lips, because I am doing a darker lip, and I was debating on doing a lip stain, but I decided maybe not today. I've got an idea for a video coming up. I'm going to use the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot around the edge of the lips. The final step I'm going to do to the face is I'm going to add just a tiny little bit of highlight. And I just bought this. This is a Victoria Beckham, super expensive. Yes, you're paying largely for the name and the packaging, but the product is pretty beautiful too. So this even has a VB imprinted, embossed on the actual stick. But if you want a budget-friendly alternative, which is just as good, is the L'Oreal Lumi Le Glace in the pearl shade. Love this product as well. But since this is new and I spent the money, I'm going to use it. So this is one of those products that just makes your cheeks look a little wet, but there's no shimmer. So it's just going to add this hint of glow. Now, the key with doing this after you've powdered, don't go crazy. If you apply too much, don't rub it or anything, just tap very lightly because you will remove part of your product underneath if you're not careful. So just the lightest amount. You could definitely go on with a powder highlighter. In fact, I love the Dior Backstage highlighter palette. I use this quite often, but I wanted something that definitely kept in the theme of keeping everything really seamless. All right, for lips, let's go around the edge. I was debating on lip liner. Okay, I have no idea what color this is. This is the Rare Beauty lip liner. It came in a set, but it must have worn off or something. So if I can figure out what color it is, I'll link it down below. For my lipstick, this is one of my favorite lipsticks for several years in a row for fall. It's the shade O from MAC. So pretty. This is the lipstick I should have put in that fall makeup trends video. I finished my hair, added some jewelry. Now here is the finished makeup look. And I have to say, I am really loving the overall finished look of this. Yes, it's a number of extra steps. Yes, it seemed like a lot of makeup, but I have to tell you, my skin feels like there is nothing on it. So even though it looked like I was adding a lot of layers, it really just, everything really melted together. And I feel like this is one of those things that is worth the extra effort. Now, again, as I said at the beginning, this is not your 5-minute makeup look. This is not something that you want to do when you're rushing out the door to work. This is something you want to just try out, test out on the weekends or on a day when you don't have to be anywhere and you can just take your time. I would highly recommend one of these palettes. I think this one's going to get you the most versatility as far as the number of highlight and contour shades. There are a couple of lighter shades you could use for blush. I'm sure you probably have a cream blush in your stash that you could use, but I do also love this one. It just doesn't have very many options for highlight. It has this one, which is good, but not color correcting or anything. So these, though, are a much better deal than the Mary Phillips palette. I think hers only come with maybe 5 shades. There are some drugstore alternatives. I will put those in the description box down below if I can find them to link. I know a couple of brands, LA Colors or LA Girl and Ulta's website, and then there's another one as well that has kind of these cream contour palettes. So if you just want to get one and mess around with it, but the key to me was also finding the 2 shades in a lighter weight foundation, and this Maybelline foundation is perfect for this scenario. So I hope that you enjoyed this, that it was insightful. If you have been curious about underpainting, hopefully I helped answer some questions. And like I said, this was a process for me and I'm still fine-tuning it. But where I'm at right now, I am loving the results. And I do feel like this has lasted me for about 9-10 hours. At the end of the day, I may have a little bit of wearing off on the nose, but other than that, it still looks really good. As always, you will find in the description box down below a list and links for all of the products and the brushes that I used today. I will also link, as soon as it goes up, the tutorial for my hair today, because you might have noticed when I first started the video, it was looking a little, let's just say, non-trendy. So look for a hair tutorial video coming about that. And also, if you love this video, if you love my channel, please give this video a thumbs up and consider hitting that new hype button that YouTube has installed down below. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.